call this meeting of the Wilson County Board of Education for April 15th, 2024 to order. Members of the board, you have the agenda before you. What is your pleasure?
Madam Chair,
Mrs. Powell,
I move that we accept the agenda for the April 15th, 2024 Wilson County Board of Education meeting.
it has been moved by Mrs. Powell, seconded by Mr. Borkin, that the agenda for the April 15th, 2024 meeting of the Wilson County Board of Education be approved. Is there any discussion? I'll need you to respond individually because members of the audience, Mrs. Barnes is absent and is with us by video conferencing. So we will need the record to be indicating by your individual votes tonight. Mrs. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Boyette?
Aye.
Mr. Borkin?
Aye.
Mr. Breen?
Aye.
Mr. Mercer? Mrs. Powell?
Aye.
And myself, Dr. Fitch, aye. Let the record reflect that the motion carries unanimously and the agenda is approved. Please be aware that the meeting is being televised on Spectrum and Greenlight Channel 22 and live streamed through the Wilson County Schools YouTube channel. The public can also view the meeting by downloading the Wilson County Schools TV 22 app and through links on the Wilson County Schools Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages and the Wilson County Schools website. Would you, Mr. Mercer, lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance to be followed by a moment of silence?
Thank you, ma'am. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you. Members of the board, you have in your packets the minutes of the March 18th, 2024 regular board meeting. What is your pleasure?
Madam Chair,
Mrs. Boyette?
I move that we approve the minutes of the Wilson County Board of Education meeting on March 18th, 2024. Second.
It has been moved by Mrs. Boyette, seconded by both Mrs. Barnes and Mr. Breen, that the minutes of the March 18th, 2024 meeting stand approved. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by the sign of aye. Mrs. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Boyette?
Aye.
Mr. Boykin?
Aye.
Mr. Breen? Mr. Mercer? Mrs. Powell?
Aye.
And myself, Dr. Fitch, aye. Let the record reflect that the motion carries unanimously. That time on our agenda for good news. Mr. Mercer, if you would assist the superintendent in the presentation of our good news. And I think we have an audience full of good news recipients tonight.
Madam Chair, board members, audience members, we've got two special teams tonight. And that first team up I'd like to recognize is from Rock Ridge Elementary School for the Battle of the Books win. So if they would come on up. They won first place in the Elementary Battle of the Books competition. So if you'll come on up, then I'll call names. It might be a little bit easier because this is a pretty big team. So Riley Gifford, Reed Johnson. Come on up. Colin Hensley, Alyssa Kirkman, Savannah Kirkman, Molly Bailey, Cora Boykin, Kyle Lalata, and their media coordinator and coach, Corey Burrows. I have to tell you, Battle of the Books is one of my favorite competitions every year. But our local Battle of the Books competition was held on March 15th, and all the students did a really great job working as a team to answer questions about the books they've read this year. The program is voluntary for students and requires that students read and become experts on 10 books. And being a part of the team is a huge commitment. Now, let me tell you, these aren't just everyday answers. It's not like you can rule out one book or another. They're very tricky, and you have to really read the books, don't you? It's not a gimme. Make sure everybody understands what you had to do to read these books, okay? All right, I'm trying to give you some credit, all right? But we want to thank them and Ms. Burrows for her support, but tell the students how proud we are of them for the hard work that got them there. This is the 3rd year in a row that her team has won the event. That's a round of applause, I think. And all the students are new to the team except for Riley and Alyssa, so that's even more powerful. So again, this is one of my most favorite events, and we're proud of you, and congratulations on the continued winning streak. So now is the time for pictures.
All right, if y'all look right here at me, real.
It's okay to smile, too.
All right, 1, 2, 3.
Okay, now one final.
All right. Everybody? Any more? All right, thank you. And I see Ms. Chilton at the back, their principal here.
Do they have parents, someone with them? If they could stand, we could have them stand.
I think we've probably gotten all we've gotten because of the smiles were really a struggle. I don't know why. Parents, do you want to be recognized as well? Because I know you read some of these books with them, too. No? Come on now, you know you did. You read some books. They're good books. Keeping on the theme of reading and Battle of the Books, at this time, we're going to recognize the Forest Hills Middle School Battle of the Books team for their first place win in the middle school competition. So if you would please come forward when I call your name. Jude Nicholson, Adrian Tolson, Milo Boyd, Ava Morris, Sanjana Bala Suthagar, Aslan Speck, Mason Mitchell, and their coach and media coordinator is Miss Angie Morgan. Y'all need to stay up here now. You can't run. I sense a few more smiles from this group already. So the middle school competition was also held on March 15th at the same location as the elementary competition. And these students voluntarily read 15 books and then competed against other middle school teams to answer the questions. And so we're very proud of them and their coach for all the hard work that went into it. This is the 2nd year in a row that this team has won the event. And all the students are new to the team except for Jude Nicholson. So I think that's a really powerful pattern for you guys, and you should be very proud. We also want to thank the Technology Services Department and Ms. Pinnica for their involvement in the event, and all the staff members, board members who volunteered to judge and serve. So this is a big event to put on, but it is really powerful and a lot of fun. So congratulations, Forest Hills, for your middle school win.
Y'all kind of turn and look this way real quick.
Anybody want to give a shout out to anybody with them or parents? Didn't think so. I tried. Tried really hard. Thank you. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Ms. Boyette, did you read the books too?
Not all.
Not all of them. Yeah, it's tough.
I'm sorry, not a late start.
Yeah. 15's a lot. Congratulations.
Good job, guys. Yes. Mr. Mercer. That's the next one. That's the next one.
They don't make it easy by
No.
having different topics. There'll be a theme.
It'll fit a couple different books.
And
Our last Good News Award, I'm not sure if they were to make it, but Kathy Hardison. Can't scan the room. Well, let me recognize her anyway. We wanted to thank the Wilson Arts for providing learning opportunities for our third grade students for the last several years. She is the executive director and on behalf of the Wilson Arts. So they have secured grant funding so that all of our third graders could experience, I am not going to get this one right, La Candela Flamenco, which is a world-class flamenco dancing group. Did I get that right, Mr. Breen?
You did great.
Thank you. Approximately 704 students saw the performance in 2 shows at the Boykin Center at no cost to the students. And so they really enjoyed the show and learning about Spanish culture. In the past years, Wilson Arts has brought 2 renowned ballet companies, New York Theater Ballet and the Collage Dance Collective, to the Boykin Center for our third graders. So that's unusual for a school system to have that kind of exposure and have those arts events for the students. So we're very appreciative of Wilson Arts making that happen for our third graders. If you see anyone with that organization or Ms. Harrison, please thank them for us. So congratulations to her.
There's Ms. Hurst.
There she is. Come on up, come on up. We just said nice things about you, so I can't do it again, but no, come on. Let's see, come on up. We wanted to thank you for all your support of our students and our third graders. Would you like to share anything since we got you?
I would just like to say that it is my favorite event that we do every year. To have all those kids in the theater, oohing and ahhing. I feel like the theater is, it needs some work and it's kind of dry, but they come in like it's the most magical, beautiful place that they have ever seen, and it warms my heart. And I've never seen anyone react to ballet like it was a rock concert. I mean, they just are just full of interaction and smiles and enthusiasm, and it's just fuel to what I do every day, and it's truly a blessing.
We really appreciate the support and all you do to make that happen for our students. And we need to get your picture real quick, so do not go anywhere just yet. I know, just in time. Yeah, you got it upside. You got it right. You got it right. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Just kidding. Got it?
Thank you again.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. And I know that the students and all may be ready to go, and mamas and daddies and whoever's with them. We're going to take a 2-minute break, let you all exit if you want to. Thank you so much for coming and sharing. Thank you.
It's not a word you get used in a board meeting every day. La flamenco. La flamenco. Yep, I believe so. Good crowd. Staring at myself. What's the matter? There's no one signed up. There's right there. Look.
Next on the agenda is the chairman's report. And a couple of things that I wanted to highlight before I turn it over. First, well, to the Battle of the Books winners, and I had that on my list so I can shorten that and cross it out. We'd like to offer congratulations to the students and families and partners involved in this year's 4-H livestock show and sale. The education and commitment by the students has paid off with a successful presentation and sale of all the animals, which will allow students to earn funds that often lead to helping to defray college costs. To the public, your very generous support of the student efforts continually make this event successful year after year, and record prices always seem to be brought, and so we thank you for supporting the students in this effort. I'd like to congratulate the 10 semifinalists for the Wilson County Schools Teacher of the Year and the 5 semifinalists Wilson County Schools Principals for the Principal of the Year recognition. The selection process will continue until the winners in each category are announced at a later point, and offer kudos to all of the teachers and the principals who were nominated and considered for this recognition. It's no small feat. Congratulations for a successful Whirly Wellness that was held this past weekend, I believe. Please note that the next board meeting is scheduled on Monday, May 20th, and will be held in the auditorium at Fike High School at 6:30 instead of here in the boardroom. The next board meeting on May 20th will be held in the auditorium at Fike instead of here at the central office. Any person who desires to appear before the board may sign up to do so in one of the following ways. In person here at the central office by noon on the day of the board meeting. In person at Fike by the side entrance as you enter the auditorium between 5:30 and 6:30 on the day of the board meeting, or by email to publiccomments@wilsonschoolsnc.net by noon on the day of the board meeting. So just a notice that we will not be here next board meeting, but at Fike, and the sign-up procedures have been outlined. My last point is that we are truly in the short rows of this year. It's a year that seems to have just started, but it's the 15th of April, and we're out very shortly. Our early college students will have their last day of high school on May the 9th, but their last day of college on May the 6th. WECA will have their graduation on May the 14th, while Watt will have graduation on May the 16th. We congratulate each of the students for their accomplishments that will allow them not only to earn their high school diploma, but also either their associate's degree or 2 years towards their 4-year undertaking. And those are important milestones, and so please make note, and as we prepare for exams and the like, we'll have another board meeting before our final exams begin. So we'll mention that at the next board meeting, but for our seniors at Watt and at WECA, we congratulate them. And that concludes the chairman's report, and I will turn it over to Dr. Mills for the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair, board members, audience members. A few things for updates. We held our educator job fair on March 23rd, and the event was a success with more than 50 candidates attending. As you well know, it's a very tight market out there, so that's a very good sign for us. Our school leaders were able to interview candidates and offer contingency contracts on site. And I want to thank the Human Resources team for organizing the fair and for our principals and school leaders that were in attendance. It does take everyone to make that happen. Thanks also to Darden Middle School for hosting. Everything looked amazing, and the booths as well. The candidates who attended felt welcomed and were excited. Facility Services Department also helped out, making sure everything was ready. So it's always never too late if you want to teach here or work for Wilson County Schools. We're always looking for folks, so check out our employment page on our district website. But that was a good turnout for our spring educator job fair. I did want to share and send out thanks to Barnhill Contracting Company and Nelson Aerial Productions. Well, they created a really powerful documentary of the history of Frederick Douglass School, as it is today as an elementary school and as it was in the past as a high school. Some folks that you know and others that you know from the community and from here were interviewed in the video and did a really great, incredible job. Their stories really gave life to the school and the background. Those who were involved with it, especially Amber Lynch, who pulled a lot of this together, and Facility Services, Greg Woodard, and Dr. Williams, really made a lot of things happen with this. It was pretty involved, and they wanted to make sure we thank Dr. Fitch and Principal Casey Wester for being in the video, and did a great job. So we're now waiting for the movie star titles to come to their resumes, but we're not going to seek autographs. But if you haven't seen the documentary yet, you can find it on YouTube under the title Frederick Douglass School, The Future's Past, and links on our district website and social media sites. So it did come out very, very well, and that's something that they did for us as a courtesy, and everyone that I've talked to that's seen it was really pleased with it. It's very high quality. And then two more quick things. Dr. Fitch mentioned about the end of the year. It is running up on us, but Awards Day at both Watt and WECA is April 26th at 9:30. And, you know, we've also got Teacher Appreciation Week coming up, which is the first week in May. And then one final highlight I wanted to share that we just found out about was Hearn Elementary and Lucama Elementary were recognized by the Department of Public Instruction on April 11th for being 2 of 10 schools in the state highlighted for their innovative approaches to learning. Hearn and Lucama, 2 out of 10 in the state. The schools are now a part of the Canopy Project database, which is a collaborative effort to showcase a diverse set of learning environments and document the designs that were implemented to advance equity and student-centered learning. The schools in the database adapt to student strengths and needs, create joyful and rigorous learning experiences, and reflect the values and priorities of their communities. There are only 319 schools identified in the national database. So it's really a big deal that out of the 10 schools from North Carolina, 2 are from our system. So Hearn and Lucama were both recognized also for how they have exceeded growth while being part of opportunity culture, which, as you well know, really helps us extend the reach of our teachers and our mentors and their teams. The schools utilize staff in advanced teaching roles, as well as teacher assistants and retired educators that serve as tutors and provide that really tailored small group instruction that's so powerful to students both during and after school. The Canopy Project was a new term for some of us. I'm more familiar with the opportunity culture, but it was launched by the Christensen Institute in 2018 and is stewarded by Transcend and the Center on Reinventing Public Education. That database is updated annually to spark connections between learning communities and spot trends in practice so that educational leaders, school designers, and research can replicate innovative designs. So opportunity culture has really had a huge impact on us, and that's something that our instructional team and Dr. Wilson and Ms. May and the whole instructional staff really have made part of the practice, and it's paid off dividends for us. And I'd also like to put a shameless plug not only for Hearn and Lucama for standing out, but I would also like to share that Dr. Wilson was invited to be a keynote speaker for the Opportunity Culture's upcoming annual conference. And so she will be representing not only the system, but all the work that's been going on, and will be the keynote speaker at their upcoming big deal conference. So, Madam Chair, that's all I have.
Thank you, and congratulations, Dr. Wilson, and to Hearn, and to Lucama, and all of the accolades shared by Dr. Mills in his updates. Next on the agenda is the opportunity for the public to address the board, to share their concerns and issues. No one has signed up for tonight's meeting, so we're going to move forward with the committee reports. We're going to begin with Administrative Services by Mr. Mercer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This afternoon, the Administrative Service Committee met, and all board members participated in the discussions. And our purpose and our discussions were centered around the review of Frederick Douglass Elementary School's plans and we were given an update. The architects and Barnhill were present and shared with us the plans and ideas they had come up with to try to create a school, a Frederick Douglass Elementary School, and also get it to fit within the financing that we have available to us. They come up with a plan that creates a school with a capacity of 382, and there are some add-ons that, through their process, they had kind of separated from the school for the school board to consider, such as the shelter out front, the covered walkway or entrance out front, the classrooms. It was reduced before classrooms that were larger classrooms, 2 smaller classrooms. And I think that they still left intact the construction methods that will have a good sound building. And it was prepared for the central areas such as the offices and multipurpose and things of that nature for a capacity of 600 in case in the future we needed to enlarge the school. There were some questions that was raised regarding the traffic within the cafeteria, and also students coming in from the bus having to be in the same spaces at the same time potentially. So they have taken that to see what remedies they can come up with so that the cafeteria, kitchen, and dining area will basically be in one space, and also have a good, proper entrance from the bus parking lot. Now, all the board members took part in this. I've hit the high spots. I'd like to ask the other board members, feel free to clarify, correct, add, whatever you think would be proper at this time.
The only thing I would add is that based on the projections, the project still appears that it's likely going to run over budget.
It appears. And that's something that's difficult to work with, to say the least, for everybody concerned. I do feel like there's a commitment to, at this point, to try to provide the community in Elm City with a good school. I said at the meeting, and I'll say, I wish that the capacity would be a little higher than what's projected for right now. But being in a position where we're having difficulty getting a building and a school that we can build and stay within the budget boundaries is a challenging one. And I feel like the board is anxious to get it done and willing to work to get it done. Any other comments, questions, or?
There was also concern raised about coverage so that students would not be in the elements of rain and otherwise, to make sure that there was shelter available as they await pickup or boarding buses.
Yes, ma'am. Any other? Hearing none, Madam Chair, that completes my report.
All right. Though it was not on the agenda for committee meeting, there were other items in regard to administrative services for the overall board for consideration. Are you going to handle those things, Mr. Mercer, the administrative, the contracts and the like, or?
All the other items were under discussion items for after the committee reports, I think.
Okay, all right. So that will come later in the...
Yes, ma'am.
In the meeting. Thank you very much. Then we move down to the Instructional Services Committee. Instructional Services Committee met this afternoon. We had several items on our agenda for information and only one item for action. On the informational items, we had contracts that require board notification. As you are aware, the board acts to approve contracts over the $90,000 threshold, and anything else comes to us as information. There were four contracts that came before the committee for Anatomic Incorporated for clinical table for the CTE program, animal science, health science, and child development pathways at Fike in the amount of $79,465. And a contract with Barnes Equipment Incorporated for a tractor for Beddingfield Agricultural Department at $31,491.25. IDEA for a middle school math program with student license and teacher administrative professional development sessions in the amount of $71,900. And for Newzella, thank you, Newzella for online an education platform for content in the amount of $42,201. Those were brought for discussion and information to the board. We then had 5 revised policies that are all first reads that came before the committee. The first is Policy 4150 regarding school assignment, Policy 5030, community use of facilities, 6315, drivers, and 6430, purchasing requirement for equipment, materials, and supplies, along with Policy 7241, drug and alcohol testing of commercial motor vehicle operators. Since these are all first read, we had discussion with those. They will come back for a vote at the next board meeting. We then had revisions of administrative regulations and the rescinding of one administrative regulation. The revised administrative regulations were 3103 ARA for alternative degree completion. The rescinded regulation was 3103E1, Wilson County Schools authorization to test. Revised Administrative Regulation 3103E2, Community College Release Form, and Administrative Regulation 3103E3, Community College Release Checklist. These were the informational items that came before the board. And Mr. Vice Chair, I'm going to turn the meeting over to you for a moment to allow me to make a motion in regard to the action item that was on our agenda.
Yes, ma'am.
The committee looked at revised policy 6316, other employees as bus drivers. This was a second read that came to us last month. On the recommendation of the committee, Mr. Vice Chair, I move that the board approve the revised policy 6316, other employees as bus drivers.
It's been moved and properly seconded that the full board approve revised policy 6316, other employees as bus drivers, as a second reading. Any further discussion or question? Hearing none, Ms. Barnes,
Yes. Aye.
Ms. Boyette,
Aye.
Mr. Boykin,
Aye.
Dr. Fitch,
Aye.
Mr. Breen,
Aye.
Ms. Powell,
Aye.
and I also approve. It passes unanimously. Dr. Fitch.
Thank you so much. Before I go any further, let me provide some clarification in terms of the sign up for the next Board of Ed meeting. The sign up in person is from 5:30 until 6 o'clock at Fike. Okay. I don't think I was clear and that was made known to me, so let the public be aware that we still have sign up, but from 5:30 to 6, and it will be at Fike High School. All right. Now, the next items on our agenda call for the discussion of a joint resolution to the Wilson County Board of the Wilson County Board of Education and the Wilson Board of County Commissioners to enter into a continuing contract for lease purchase of 9 activity buses for Wilson County Schools. We had the discussion at last board meeting in regard to those activity buses and the lease purchase agreement that we would be entering into. And so you have in your board packet a resolution for consideration. Is there a discussion regarding that resolution? And is there a need to have that resolution read in its entirety at this point? What is your pleasure?
It's been available to us already.
All right, so what is your pleasure?
Madam Chair,
Mr. Mercer?
I move that the full board approve the joint resolution of the Wilson County Board of Education and the Wilson County Board of County Commissioners to enter into a continuing contract for the lease purchase of 9 activity buses for Wilson County Schools.
Second.
It has been moved by Mr. Mercer, seconded by Mrs. Boyette. Mr. Breen, did I hear another little voice chirping there?
Ms. Powell.
Ms. Powell, you want to make that almost unanimous, or we'll leave it as it is?
No, I'd like to be the odd man out.
You like to be the odd man out, not a problem. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by your recorded vote. Mrs. Barnes? Mrs. Barnes, we're needing, okay. Okay, thank you. Mrs. Boyette?
Aye.
Mr. Boykin?
Aye.
Mr. Breen? Mr. Mercer?
Aye.
Mrs. Powell?
Aye.
Myself, Dr. Fitch, aye. Let the record reflect that the motion carries unanimously. Next is another resolution. This is for Wilson County Board of Education requesting use of capital outlay funds for Bedingfield High School classrooms and Wilson County Schools HVAC projects. What is your pleasure,
Madam Chair,
Mr. Mercer?
I move that the full board approve the Wilson County Board of Education resolution requesting use of capital outlay funds for Bedingfield High School classrooms and Wilson County Schools HVAC projects.
It has been moved by Mr. Mercer, seconded by Mr. Boykin and Mrs. Barnes, that the Wilson County Board of Education, education resolution, let me start that again. Moved and properly seconded by the Wilson County Board of Education for a resolution requesting the use of capital outlay funds for Bedingfield High School classrooms and Wilson County Schools HVAC projects. Any further discussion? This was discussed at our last board meeting and brought forward for tonight. Please record your vote. Mrs. Barnes? Aye. Mrs. Boyette,
Aye.
Mr. Boykin,
Aye.
Mr. Breen,
Aye.
Mr. Mercer,
Aye.
Mrs. Powell,
Aye.
myself, Dr. Fitch, aye. Let the record reflect that the motion carries unanimously. We do have some contracts for board approval, and that's what I was jumping the gun to when I started this extra discussion going on. And then I shuffled them back in. So let me find those. There are three contracts for the board to consider. They exceed the $90,000 threshold that's required, that requires us to take action. The first one is for Daimler Truck Financial to lease to own agreement for 9 activity buses. The amount of the lease is $1,192,158, with $287,344.04 to be paid yearly for 5 years. This is in conjunction with the resolution that we just passed. The second one is for Point Security for a purchase and service agreement for Open Gates weapons detection systems for Bedingfield, Fike, and Hunt High Schools in the amount of $93,717.32 to come from North Carolina Safer Schools grants and local funds. And the third is for Alliance Technology Group to purchase and service, for a purchase and service agreement for Evolve Weapons Detection Systems for Bedingfield, Fike, and Hunt High Schools in the amount of $380,221.51, again with funding from North Carolina Safer Schools grant. These three were discussed at the last board meeting and carry over and in conjunction with what we have already acted on. So, if you want me to do all three contracts in one motion, or would you like to have them done separately?
Just for the sake of one motion.
All right? Then the chair will entertain a motion for the approval of the three contracts as mentioned.
Just as a point of clarification, I guess I
Okay.
wasn't here when we talked about these, but the difference between the two is that one, the Point Security Incorporated is their mobile units.
That's correct.
And the Alliance Technology Group, those will be fixed at an entrance.
That's correct.
Okay.
Ms. Boyette?
Did we, I know, one of the questions that I had heard was that they, somewhere or another in the discussion, it said that they were picking up vapes as well in some cases. Will this be able to, does this system, as well as getting weapons, does it get vapes?
The weapons detection system itself is supposed to identify weapons, specifically firearms, weapons of mass destruction. When I say, these are pipe bombs, things of that nature. The settings on these can be set as high or as low as we want to. This is not a vape detection system because there is such a thing, has the vape detections, but usually that's when the vape is being utilized and it picks it up whenever it's being used. Overarching, no ma'am, I don't think it would be. Detecting vapes has a part of its regular routine every day. Not to say that it's not out of the question that it could potentially pick one up, that it could identify one as it comes through. But I think that would be something that would have to be dealt with through the sensitivity of the system and how high or low we have it. And the companies can help us with that in terms of monitoring how high or low we have that sensitivity on.
Are there other questions?
Madam Chair,
Sir,
are you ready to entertain a motion?
I am.
I move that we adopt or approve the contract with Daimler Truck Financial, lease to own agreement for non-activity buses in the amount of $1,192,158 with point security to purchase and service agreement for Open Gates weapon detection for our 3 traditional high schools in the amount of $93,717.32, and with Alliance Technology Group to purchase and service agreement for Evolved Weapons Detection Systems at the for the 3 traditional high schools in the amount of $380,221.51.
Second.
Second.
It has been moved by Mr. Breen, seconded by Mrs. Powell and Mr. Mercer, that the board approve the contract with Daimler Truck Financial to lease the own agreement for 9 activity buses in the amount of $1,192,158 for Point Security Incorporated to purchase, for purchase service agreement for Open Gates Weapons Detection Systems for Bedingfield, Fike, and Hunt High Schools in the amount of $93,717.32, and to Alliance Technology Group for a purchase and service agreement for Evolved Weapons Detection Systems for Bedingfield, Fike, and Hunt High Schools in the amount of $380,221.51. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by the sign of aye. Mrs. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Boyette?
Aye.
Mr. Boykin?
Aye.
Mr. Breen?
Aye.
Mr. Mercer?
Aye.
Mrs. Powell?
Aye.
Myself, Dr. Fitch, aye. Let the record reflect the motion carries unanimously. The motion passes. Next for our discussion is the 2024-2025 local current expense and capital outlay budgets. At our last board meeting, we had presented to us by the administration the budget request for $1,250,000. And the administration is seeking feedback on the proposed budgets as presented to prepare for approving the final budget, which is for today, because this will go forward to the county commissioners to meet that deadline that is set. So, is there any further discussion in regard to the budget presentation that we received at the last board meeting as we move forward? Hearing none, the chair will entertain a motion in regard to the budget for 2024-2025.
Dr. Fitch?
Yes,
Just one point. The total for local request was $28,082,892, and it was $1,250,000 for capital outlay.
okay, I'm
Yes,
sorry, I
ma'am.
left off the big numbers and only went with the smaller. I apologize. Thank you.
Dr. Fitch, I did have one
Yes.
point of clarification. And we are including in our request a 2% increase in supplement, not the 1% increase.
Okay,
I thought that was the general intent. So, okay.
all right. If you have heard the comments from both Dr. Williams and Dr. Mills, the 2% supplement increase, the 2% supplement and the 1.25 for capital outlay, but the total of our budget request from the county commissioners, notwithstanding capital, is $28,082,892. The floor is open for discussion and/or motion.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Breen,
I move that we adopt the 2024-2025 local current expense budget request for $28,082,892 and the capital outlay budget request for $1,250,000.
Second.
it has been moved by Mr. Breen, seconded by Mr. Mercer, that the board approve the 2024-2025 local current expense budget request for $28,082,892 and the capital outlay budget request for $1,250,000. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by the sign of aye. Mrs. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Boyette?
Aye.
Mr. Boykin?
Aye.
Mr. Breen?
Aye.
Mr. Mercer?
Aye.
Mrs. Powell?
Aye.
Myself, Dr. Fitch, aye. Let the record reflect that the motion carries unanimously. Mrs. Barnes?
Madam Chair and board members, I move that the Wilson County Board of Education go into closed session to consider confidential personnel matters as provided in North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A1 and 6 and 115C-319 through 321 to discuss confidential student matters as provided in North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A1 and North Carolina General Statutes 115C-402 and Family Educational Policy Act 20 U.S.C. 1232G, and to consult with the Board of Education attorney and preserve the attorney-client privilege as provided in North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A3.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Mrs. Barnes, seconded by Mr. Breen, that the Wilson County Board of Education go into closed session to consider confidential personnel matters as provided in North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A1 and 6 and 115C-319 through 321. To consider confidential student matters as provided in North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A1 and North Carolina General Statutes 115C-402 and the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act 20, United States Code 1232G, and to consult with the Board of Education attorney and preserve the attorney-client privilege as provided in North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A3. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, please record your vote. Mrs. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Boyette?
Aye.
Mr. Boykin? Mr. Breen?
Aye.
Mr. Mercer? Mrs. Powell?
Aye.
Myself, Dr. Fitch, aye. Let the record reflect that the motion carries unanimously. We are adjourned to closed session.